Ahoy and welcome to this Narrowboat adventure. So today I am at a launch party for my friend Sasha's book. It's called Carl Goes to London Islands, and this is about the islands in the Thames around London. If you want to join my book club, you can get her book. We're going to go through and we're going to visit some of the islands in the book on our boat, and probably some of them in person as well, as I believe some of the islands are towards London from Brentford, and we don't really go that way in our narrowboat because we're a bit scared. It's quite choppy. But we do go the other way from Brentford towards Teddington, and there are lots of islands out there, including my favourite island. I'm going to be doing videos all about the different islands, and I hope you will join along with me. If you'd like to buy the book, I'm going to put some links in the description for where you can get it. Right, I'm going to let Sasha tell you a bit more about the book herself, and I'll be back later.
So my name's Sasha Arms, I'm the author of Carl Goes London Islands. So today we're on Eel Pie Island, one of the islands on the River Thames. We're here to launch the book Carl Goes London Islands, which is all about a journey along the River Thames, looking at the islands and islanders who live on the River Thames. And I've spent about the last year trying to find out everything I can about the islands on the Thames and what's going on here. I first got to know that islands even existed on the River Thames when I was walking along the riverside in Hampton Court, and I sort of spotted that there were islands on the River Thames which I didn't know at all at that moment in time. So I started doing a bit of reading, found out that there's actually loads and loads of islands on the River Thames. There's actually around 200 along the whole stretch of the Thames. I thought it would be a really interesting idea to find out more about the islands, what's going on the islands nowadays, and also I noticed that some islands also have houses on them and people living on them, so I really wanted to find out who these islanders were and why they decided to live on an island in London. So the book is laid out as a journey along the River Thames. So we start in Canvey Island, sort of near the mouth of the Thames, and we go all the way through to Monkey Island, which is through London and the other side. And I call it a journey because I think it's nice to see the journey of the river and to see what's happening on the islands along the way. Really what we're bringing in is a little bit about the history of the islands. There's some really fascinating stories about some of the history on the islands, but also I was really keen to look at what's happening on the islands nowadays. So I think it's really interesting to know that people choose to live on an island in London. Some of these islands have a road bridge, not many though. Some have a footbridge and some don't have a bridge at all. And I was really keen to find out who these islanders were, especially the ones who actually decide I'm going to row in my boat in the morning to get to the mainland. Every single island has a story, and it's really difficult to say I've got a favourite island for this reason, because I was absolutely fascinated by every single island I came across. Even there are some tiny dots of islands that really have a tree and a few ducks on them, but there are still some really cool stories to uncover. So I can't say I necessarily have a favourite island, but I've certainly met some really interesting islanders who've helped me uncover really cool stories. So for example, the island we're on today is Eel Pie Island. I was able to spend the afternoon with Trevor Bayliss before he passed away earlier in the year. Trevor Bayliss invented the wind-up clock radio. He told me all about his life on Eel Pie Island, and he actually invented the clock radio on this island. So it was just brilliant to be able to speak to people from all different walks of life who've done amazing things and talk to them about their life as well as their experience of islands. There's at least one page per island. So there's a page per island and a map of the island and a doodle of each island as well that gives you a sense of the shape of the island. My colleague Rosa over there actually and and Lena as well did the doodle. So I think it adds something new because you can't always imagine the shape of the island, and they did sort of quirky little kind of illustrations with them to show what the island was known for. It was really word of mouth to find out who lived on islands actually. So there are islands that are a bit better known, like Eel Pie Island. Tags Island is another one that's fairly well known. So I started making contact with people who were a bit easier to find out about. Maybe they had media coverage in the past or something that I could find out who lived on the islands. And then as you start to get to know islanders, you can figure out, or they have friends on other islands, and they put me in touch with some of their other islander friends, and I really got put in touch with people through a network of other people and investigations and those sorts of things. So one example is Garrick's 8, which is not too far from Hampton Court. That's a boat-only island. So that was really fascinating, and I managed to speak to 3 people on that island who really wanted to speak to me about their life on the island. They weren't at all, you know, shy about telling me about their island and their life and their adventures on the river, you know, to get across to the mainland every day. It was a massive task to find out about the islands on the River Thames, roughly within the London area already, and we look at 65 of those islands in the book. But I suppose I've got a bit of an appetite for it now, so it would be really interesting to find out what's happening further along the river. And you know, I've met lots of people as well who, I think there's something about islands, and everyone, you know, is so fascinated by island living, and I'm aware that there's lots of other rivers and places in the world that maybe have groups of islands, you know, that would be interesting to explore as well. So let's see what happens really. The publisher I work with is Carl Goes, and so far Carl Goes has gone to 5 cities in Europe. So it is mostly, has been mostly about city guides so far, but this was a real departure from cities, and I've actually got a real appetite for exploring something new, I would say, because you know, you can go to any city in the world and find out something about it on Google. And there's really not very much information out there about the islands on the River Thames, and I think that sense of exploration and discovery is really interesting. I hope will be interesting to our readers as well, because it's not easy to find this information out, and I think it uncovers a little bit of London that wasn't known about before.
Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to buy the book, there's a link in the description, and if you would like to join along, you can press subscribe. Come join us on this narrowboat adventure for all of the island adventures to come. And you can also find me on Facebook and Patreon. There's links, all the things you might want in the description, and I look forward to seeing what you have to say about the book club in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye!